Happy Tuesday, y'all. Today we're going to have a video interview that we did with Dr. Ryan Rathman at Miniature Hereford Junior Nationals. He was fortunate enough to have an open day on our show schedule day when I called him last year, and I'm really glad and thankful we had him here today. He does such a great job in the show ring, and his analyzation and description is usually spot on. And it's thorough, and the adults can follow through in the show ring, and so can the kids. The kids can understand it and see it from them side holding their calf in the show ring as well, and be able to understand the evaluation of their animals. So it's very educational, and it's nice to have a judge that can explain things and be clear and descriptive and thorough as well. We got to learn something new about Dr. Rathman today. Today was the second time for him to walk into this show ring here at South Plains Fairgrounds as a judge. The first time he walked in assisting his dad, Joe Rathman. Anybody that remembers the family or knows Joe way back. So I'm sure today was a fun experience for him as walk in as memory lane, thinking of his first time with his dad here at South Plains Fairgrounds. So hopefully everybody enjoys this as much as I did and much as the others here did the show, but it's very educational. Here at Daddy's Story, of course, we're pro-family, pro-kids, and what more to put our kids out there is to share the platforms and put family values, family time, and stuff with our kids out there front and center. And this is another opportunity to do it, and I'm hoping everybody enjoys this, and stay tuned. Hello everybody, welcome. This is Friday, our last day own show today, and we're here with our judge, Dr. Ryan Rathman from Texas Tech University here, and we're going to get Ryan's intake on his evaluation with minis today and the mini show, and get some inputs from him about the mini breed and where we're going with it and what his thoughts are.
Yeah, no, great. I'm glad to be here. It was a privilege to judge the show, number one, and work with y'all's kids. You know, everybody I talked to, I just told you the same, Billy, but said that this is a first-class event and tremendously well ran and organized. And the main thing, they all had a great time with their families. Even the folks that I spoke to that came all the way from, say, Indiana, Pennsylvania, or Oregon, said they had a great time. And so when people drive that far, I know that means a lot to you and y'all that run the show, because you want to make certain that you deliver when people make a commitment to drive that many miles and come spend the week. So, you know, as far as the cattle go, I mean, I've judged miniature shows through the years, and I would say probably the biggest sorting factor has been structural correctness. And in those cattle, you know, they got most of them have plenty of body. Most of them are chunky enough, you know, if you will. And so really just comes down to the structure. And I was very impressed. I thought the cattle made tremendous advancements. You know, as you go through the years, I think generationally, the folks that are breeding them are doing a great job because they're really upgrading their skeleton. You know, I think historically you'd see a lot of those that might knuckle their ankle or kind of pivot their ankle when they go away. And there's still a little bit of that, but I think for the most part, that's kind of been a major emphasis, I could tell, in breeding programs. So it was good to see. I would say secondary to structure maybe being the deciding factor amongst a lot of the classes. It was probably just balance, but structure and balance goes hand in hand. One comment I would make, and again, I want to compliment the exhibitors, because I would say, you know, if you get your cattle too fat, particularly on the breeding heifer side, it not only is it bad from a reproductive performance standpoint, which we don't want to compromise, but it really throws their balance off. And so you get two hickeys because it hurts you in the ring and it hurts you in the long run, right? Yep. And so I was really impressed that, although I did talk it and there was some cattle I still would say we need to make leaner, as a whole in the entire show. I thought the exhibitors and families did a really nice job of bringing a set of cattle that I didn't think were as many of them that were maybe a little overcooked. Yeah. And so my compliments to the families and the exhibitors on that. So, I thought the other interesting thing was maybe breeding and maturity patterns, because it is a miniature breed, so they're all earlier maturing, obviously.
Yes.
But I still think within the context of the breed, maturity patterns matters a whole lot. So I discussed it a little bit earlier in the day, and so I want to re-emphasize. I think what you should strive for in terms of both balance and maturity pattern is cattle that are obviously still moderate, because they got to fit the parameters, but in relative to that, are pushing the envelope in terms of length of hip. I would say I would focus on length of the hip more than any trait, because length of the hip is going to not only make them more attractive from the side and give them that, elevate them, if you will, in terms of look and presence, but it also is making a difference in what I saw today in terms of the mechanics of their hind leg, like how much angle they had in their hock, how much reach they had in their skeleton. So again, it's kind of like we talked about with condition. If you can manage it right, it can help you in the ring and it can help you reproductively. And then length of the hip can help you in the ring, but it also aids to that big step. So it 2 pluses in terms of balance and structure. So those were some of the observations that I made, Billy, and that I thought, again, I think everybody's making great progression in their breeding programs, but I would continue to focus on that, because their skeleton, you can do a lot of things, but you can't really hide their skeleton. It's so transmittable to the next generation.
Structure.
No, you can't fix structure.
You can't fix structure.
And I think every family that gets involved in this project, they start to realize that over time, right? You can hurt it.
Yes.
But it's hard to enhance it, right? You can hurt it by getting cattle too obese, or maybe trimming their feet wrong, or maybe they get out in their back or something like that. But it's a trait that certainly prevails across any breed of cattle that we evaluate.
Yeah, and it's really tough with mini Herefords because you can get them over conditioned really fast.
For sure, yeah.
So getting miniature cattle overfed, over conditioned, really hurts them and sets them back. So it really messes up your breeding cycle, even with bigger cattle, as you well know.
Yeah, and you mentioned that. I learned myself too, because I was kind of curious in y'all's breed, what y'all feel like is the optimal breeding age. Like what is the optimal time for them to calve? Like obviously if we're going to show regular Herefords, we'd ask them to be 2 years of age by the time they have their first calf. So talking to these kids here today, I got a lot of responses. What's kind of your 2 cents on that?
My response is probably 18 to 24 months.
To breed them, or to breed them?
To breed them.
And then so calve about 2.5 years
I
of age.
usually let mine go a little longer, just for the fact is I want a little more maturity, a little more finish out, getting the cow where it is. And sometimes some people do breed a little bit earlier, where they're calving at 2 years. I just don't believe the miniature breed has enough there to do that. I think we need to give them that 18 to 24 months before we start breeding them.
Better guarantee calving ease during that first calf.
Yes.
So how much? So that was one question I had that I didn't get to visit with breeders about today. Like calving ease wise, where do you feel like y'all are at in the population now? Is there still challenges associated with that? Got to put a lot of emphasis, or have been really made strides in that regard?
We're there. The issues where we're not is people that's not educated and people that's not informed, and up and on top of breeding. We have a lot of hobby farmers in this breed, and we have a lot of small families in this thing. So getting them on board, everybody goes and they buy a show heifer for their daughter, son, or whatever. Then they get up to maturity to breed, and they're like, what do we breed it to? So you really got to educate them, and on the association side, that's what we do a lot, to really educate on the breeding age level, what to breed and how to breed, and giving them information on that. Where, as in the big cattle world, as you are in, and the rest of us too, but a little more experience, a little more nature, and minis we're still teaching people.
Oh, that's good. So most of the tools that they have on like we're talking about on the selection side to try to help enhance calving ease, mainly based off confirmation, right? Because y'all don't have a calving ease EPD or anything like that.
No, we don't.
No, so it's just based on confirmation. So I might share 2 things, because we're doing some research right now, and we're trying to look at factors in the animal's skeleton that, from a livestock judging standpoint, you could look at that do actually connect the dots to calving ease. And so one of the things that we're learning is that the dimensions of their skull are highly correlated to the dimensions of their pelvis, right? And
Correct.
Their pelvic area is going to dictate that first calf heifer is probably calving ease just as much or more than, say, the sire's genetics on birth weight. And so what we're finding is that the length of their head is correlated to the length of the pelvis, and the width between their eyes is correlated to the width of that pelvis. And so I don't know if I could tell you which one is more important than the other, but I definitely think in conjunction they're very important, right? So like,
that's very important.
Obviously a miniature breed, and you're going to get most of them that are wide between their eyes, but there's probably still a lot of variance in how long they are from, say, their eye to their nostril. And I do think it's relatively important relative to that kind of tying into that pelvis and potentially calving ease.
Some of the minis are kind of short snouted, just traditional, because of the inbreeding to get to the maturity. But you can still look, if you look, as you're saying, the evaluation of looking at variances of the length, you can still tell the difference.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And not a lot of people understand that and know that.
No.
And I didn't either until I started breeding cattle.
Yeah, it's one thing. It's one thing you learn the school of hard knocks, right?
And that's exciting stuff. That was one of the reasons whenever we were talking about judges for this year, I said, I got the perfect judge I want to use. And he said, who? And I said, Dr. Ryan Rathman. And he says, I've never heard of him. I'm like, come on, man. I said, we're going to have a very thorough evaluation, and he's going to be great with kids, but he's going to be very thorough, and he's going to be where people can relate. And I said, are you and then he's seen you judge at Iowa State Fair.
At Ohio
State Fair,
I was there judging the steer show the last 2 years, so that's what we talked about earlier.
So he calls me up one day and he goes, was Ryan Rathman the guy you're talking about? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, man, I'm in. Call him up, sign him up. And I said, I already talked to him. So he's right here down the street, so he'd fit right in.
This is the shortest commute I ever had to judge a show, Billy.
I bet so. Have you ever judged any other shows in Lubbock?
You know what? I think the only other time I judged in this arena right here, I was actually I think I was a junior in college. It was between my sophomore year and my junior year. My dad would judge jackpot shows. And have you ever met my dad, James? And so, Dad back in the days, he did judge a lot of shows. I looked up to him a lot, and I'm very proud of my father. And anyways, that was a special time because he was still judging quite a bit, and I was obviously in college judging. But you don't really have eligibility to judge shows by yourself truly until probably you're done. And so during the summer there, he got asked to judge the Golden Spread Classic, and now they have it at Levelland. But in those years, it was here in this building.
That's right, years
ago.
So
I recall judging with Dad. That was probably like around 2000 in this very building. So that was a good memory. So I think that's the only other time I judged in Lubbock.
And then your kids have been showing here.
Oh yeah, they show here all the time.
And now you're back here judging.
Yeah, it's cool.
Minis out of the blue one day.
Bet. That's awesome. It's good. Thank you for asking me.
We were glad to have you, and I thought it would be a good education.
Thank you, Billy. I appreciate
the parents and the kids, and good for all of us. And looking forward for more stuff with you guys with tech and our intern stuff. And
no problem. Well, congratulations to y'all on running a first-class event.
Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks. Well, that's it with Dr. Rathman today and our evaluator for Day 2 Own Show. Thanks for watching in today.